The evening news in Niger was already running late when the broadcast suddenly cut to the national emblem. The announcer's tone was grave, deliberate, and heavy with purpose. Viewers expecting routine updates on the weather or crop reports instead heard a single, uncompromising declaration. The government of Niger had taken complete control of the Société de Mines du Liptako (SML), the country's sole industrial gold mine. Every word was read slowly, as if carved into stone. Given serious breaches to save this highly strategic company, the state of Niger has decided to nationalize SML. The statement bore the signature of President General Abdourahmane Tiani. There were no diplomatic pleasantries, no talk of renegotiation, no offers of joint management. The mine's Australian operator, McKinnell Resources Limited, had been cut out of the equation completely. Ownership was now fully in Nigerian hands. What stunned many was the speed. This was not an announcement of future intentions. It was a fait accompli. No talk of legal disputes, arbitration, or transition periods. The decision had clearly been in the works for some time, planned in silence until the government was ready to act in one swift stroke. In the hours that followed, Niamey buzzed with speculation. International investors scrambled for clarity, journalists tried to confirm details, and McKinnell's headquarters in Australia reportedly learned the news from the same televised broadcast as everyone else. The shock was amplified by the fact that Niger's gold sector is relatively small compared to its uranium and oil industries. Yet the government had chosen this particular project for such a high-profile intervention, just 2 months after it nationalized the local arm of French uranium giant Orano. 2 takeovers in such quick succession left little doubt. This was not coincidence but a deliberate new strategy for Niger. The move was framed as an act of sovereignty. The state called SML, a highly strategic company, whose survival was essential to ensuring that Niger's natural resources benefited its own people. The message to the nation was clear. Foreign corporate control would no longer stand in the way of national interest. The mine itself, located on the banks of the River Niger in the southwest, remained operational. Security had been stepped up, but crews stayed on site. The government assured the public that production would continue. Whether foreign technical staff would remain, however, was still unknown. The question remained, why now? Why not wait for a contract to expire or negotiate a buyout? To answer that, one must look at what SML represents. SML is more than a mine. It's the anchor of Niger's gold industry. It sits in the West African Gold Belt, one of the richest gold-bearing zones on the continent, stretching from Ghana to Senegal. While Niger's portion of the belt is less developed, its potential is enormous. SML is the only industrial-scale gold mine in the country, serving not just as a production site but as the foundation for mining infrastructure, roads, energy connections, and processing facilities that future projects will depend on. Gold also offers Niger a path to economic diversification. The country's economy is heavily reliant on agriculture and uranium exports, both vulnerable to market volatility. Gold provides a potential stabilizer, a way to build foreign reserves and cushion against global shocks. Strategically, SML's location is a major advantage. Its position on a navigable river and near key trade routes keeps operating costs lower and opens the door for expansion. Few other projects in Niger enjoy such logistical benefits. Politically, the mine is symbolic. It was one of the first major industrial mining projects to attract significant foreign investment, intended to prove that Niger could host world-class ventures. If it thrived, it would strengthen the government's narrative of economic modernization. If it failed, it would signal instability to potential investors. For local communities, the mine means jobs, hundreds directly employed and thousands more supported indirectly through services, supply contracts, and commerce. In a country where employment is a constant political priority, keeping SML healthy is as much a political necessity as it is an economic one. But if it was so important, how did it reach a crisis point? According to the government, the trouble began soon after McKinnell took over in 2019. The company had promised a $10 million investment to upgrade processing equipment and expand production. That money never arrived. Machinery aged, productivity suffered, and sections of the operation were left working with outdated tools. Financial mismanagement followed. Tax payments fell behind, wages went unpaid, and the economic ripple hit local communities hard. Production stoppages became frequent, sometimes from equipment breakdowns, sometimes from labor disputes. The government says layoffs were made without a coherent restructuring plan, reducing operational capacity and worsening unemployment. Debt piled up. With revenue disrupted and no new investment, McKinnell reportedly borrowed just to keep operations going, creating what officials called a significant debt burden that eroded confidence in the company's ability to recover. Individually, these problems might have been manageable. Together, they formed a pattern of decline that the government deemed unacceptable for a mine of such national importance. Waiting for legal proceedings or contract renegotiations, they believed would take too long. Acting immediately was framed as the only way to save the mine from collapse. Yet SML's story is not unique. Across the Sahel, governments are rethinking resource ownership. Mali has revised its mining laws to increase state stakes in projects. Burkina Faso has passed new regulations allowing government intervention in mines deemed critical to national interest. Niger's recent takeovers of both uranium and gold operations show that these policies are not just rhetoric, they're being enforced. The reasons are both political and economic. For decades, foreign companies extracted vast wealth from Sahelian mines, but much of that wealth flowed out of the region. Infrastructure often served only the mines, not the wider economy. Local communities saw little sustained benefit, while governments depended on royalties and taxes vulnerable to global price swings. By asserting greater control, Sahelian states aim to redirect these resources toward national development. Sovereignty is at the heart of the message. The wealth under African soil must serve African people first. Shifting geopolitical landscape has also emboldened this approach. With Western influence waning and new partners emerging, Russia, China, Turkey, Sahelian governments now have more options for investment and technical expertise. This competition allows them to negotiate deals more favorable to national interests. But nationalization carries risks. Large-scale mining requires specialized knowledge, significant capital, and access to global markets. Without these, production can stagnate, undermining the very benefits the policy is meant to secure. For Niger, the political gamble has been made. The next challenge is operational success. The government must stabilize the mine, reassure workers and suppliers, and maintain production without disruption. Technical expertise is crucial. While Niger may have skilled workers, a fully localized workforce will take time to develop. In the meantime, external partners will likely be brought in, under terms that guarantee state control and technology transfer. Financing is another hurdle. Modern mining demands constant investment. Without McKinnell's funding, Niger will need to secure capital from sovereign loans, regional banks, or joint ventures with state-owned enterprises from allied nations. Then there is value addition. Currently, Niger's gold is exported in raw form, with most of the refining and profit taking place abroad. Building domestic refining capacity would keep more value at home, create jobs, and reduce reliance on foreign buyers. SML could also serve as a training ground for engineers, geologists, and managers, creating a skilled workforce to power future projects. In this way, the mine could become more than a source of gold. It could be the backbone of Niger's industrial development. Finally, Niger must manage its international image. While the takeover boosts domestic support, it risks scaring off future investors. A clear mining policy, one that prioritizes national benefit but provides transparent rules for foreign operators, could help balance sovereignty with stability, and in the end, SML's nationalization will be judged not by the drama of the takeover, but by what follows. If Niger can keep the mine productive, expand its output, and capture more value within its borders, it will set a precedent that could inspire other African nations. If not, critics will use it as proof that state control leads to inefficiency and decline. The eyes of the region and the mining world are now on Niamey. The political strike has been made. The question is whether Niger can turn this bold move into lasting economic strength. The next chapter will reveal whether this was a masterstroke of sovereignty or a costly gamble in Africa's new resource power game.